Hello and welcome to Kirkland Tutoring. In this video we'll cover basic biology and introduction to basic biology concepts. So this video works for students who are barely starting off with biology and taking introductory courses, or more advanced students that need a refresher on the basic concepts of biology. So to start off, we're going to go over what the basic concept of biology is, which is the study of life. So when referring to the study of life, we want to think about the Earth and everything on it, such as plants and bacteria and animals, including us humans. And then based on that Earth, we need to have something called evolution. We'll make another video on evolution later on, but evolution is basically an organism's ability to adapt to its environment and become a better version of itself. Then from evolution comes cells. Cells we'll go over in a second, but it's probably the most important aspect of biology in general. And included in cells is genetics. So we're going to talk about anatomy and living organisms. So basically we want to know what makes a living organism living. So for a living organism to be considered living, it needs to have a list of certain things, and these things are, it needs to be consisted of cells and have some sort of cellular organization. It needs to reproduce, so it can continue its bloodline. It needs to grow and develop and adapt. It needs to use energy, and from this energy, it needs to be able to produce and get rid of waste. Then, of course, is a new word in case you haven't heard it before. It's called homeostasis. So homeostasis is the ability to maintain everything in an organism regulated. In humans, we know it as being able to control our body temperatures. So we go outside and it's super cold, our bodies stay the same temperature if it's super hot outside. It's our body's ability to regulate our systems and be able to control what's going on. And of course, organisms need to be able to evolve. Without evolution, organisms will die out and there will be extinction. So now we're going to look at the cells. So you should know that there are two types of cells, plant and animal cells, and they have some similarities, but they also have some differences. So one similarity that they have is the nucleus. The nucleus is considered the brain of the cell. It's also where DNA replication happens, and DNA replication falls into the category of genetics, which I'll make another video on later. Then we have the mitochondria. The mitochondria is responsible for producing ATP, and it gives us energy. It's what we get our energy from in the cells, and it's how the cell functions. In animal cells, we have something called centrioles, and centrioles help whenever the cell is dividing. That's called mitosis and meiosis. There will also be another video on that later on. But centrioles form something called spindle fibers, which help the cell split into two and form two new cells. We have the endoplasmic reticulum. This is responsible, and it has to do with protein synthesis and folding proteins, and it does this with the help of the ribosomes. Now, the ribosomes are small particles attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, and it's responsible for synthesizing proteins, and the ER helps package them for them to be delivered within the cell and outside of the cell. In plant cells, we have something called the chloroplast, which is responsible for producing chlorophyll, and this is to aid the process of photosynthesis. One big difference between the animal cells and the plant cells is a cell wall. Plant cells have a cell wall, while the animal cells don't have a cell wall. The cell wall in the plant cells it keeps its structure, and the animal cells have something called a cytoskeleton, which helps maintain its form and a structure. The animal cell has a cell membrane that is able to regulate what goes in and out of the cell, and it forms little pockets of air called vesicles that help the cell kind of keep logs of what goes in and out. Animal cells have something called a lysosome, and it's known as the trash can of the cell. It basically collects any waste and excretes it from the cell to help keep the cell clean and functioning. We already went over the plasma membrane. It just helps regulate what goes in and out. And the cytoplasm just helps keep the organelles where they are, and it helps proteins move throughout the cell. The Golgi apparatus is responsible for basically importing molecules and proteins and putting them where they need to be, or sending them out to another cell if that needs to happen. And then I think the last one is the vacuole. The vacuole is found in both plant and animal cells, but it's bigger in plant cells. And its main responsibility is just to store water. And we always know that water is a main component of most living things. So the vacuole helps keep a small amount of water in each cell to help the cells keep functioning efficiently. So that's a short introduction to biology. There's a lot more detail to go into everything, but I feel like this kind of covers the basics and it gets you on the right track to understanding how the cell works.